So next up, we've got Amber Graner. Amber Graner obviously comes from the foundation. I've been working with Amber for a very long time. She's a really fun person to listen to, very passionate about what she does. And I think most critically, Amber is completely dedicated to all of you and to this community and to our global community. She is your initial touch point into working with the foundation, regardless of where you want to play. If you've got a strength in something, Amber wants to be there to talk to you on how we enable that strength to benefit not just you and those you're working with, but the global economy for the greater good. Please help me welcome Amber Graner from the foundation, and then we will break for lunch right after that. So Amber, please join me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, like Cole said, and welcome and thank you for coming to the first OCP European Summit. What I want to talk to you today is a little bit about membership and about our community. How many of you guys, this is the first time you've ever attended an OCP Summit or engineering workshop? So for a lot of you, this is the first time that you're getting to see Cole, myself, and our project leads. But before we get started on the talk, I want to tell you a little bit how to spread the word. If you're like me and you like to live tweet from any talk that you're seeing, you might see something that you like, you might hear something that you don't like, you want to share it. There you can see where the account is Open Compute PRJ, OCPEU14, and I'm AK Graner. We also have our Facebook page, and if you load photos and you want to tag them with OCPEU14. And that way I can give proper accreditation when I use them. So I want to review a little bit about our community. I've talked about this earlier in the year about the ladder versus lattice approach. A lot of people think when you have to get involved in a community, or you have to get involved, you volunteer to get in a community, you want to, you're passionate about it, that you take step 1, step 2, step 3. As Cole mentioned, if you have a strength and you want to know where to get involved, I'm going to help you find that place to get involved. And so it's not necessarily a step 1, a step 2, a step 3. It's find a point, and we'll move you around on those points. It's not necessarily you want to start here, but you may want to end over here, and I'm going to help you do that. We're also based, we applied, when the foundation was started, we applied the principles and freedoms of open source. They're typically applied to software. We apply them to hardware. And if you want to know more about those freedoms, I've given you the link on these slides, and these slides will be available after this talk. There's way more than 20 minutes of information, and I can talk all day on getting involved in community. Those of you who have been involved or seen me in other communities, you know I can talk about it all day long. But I want to make sure that you have the references in this slide deck to go and research it for yourselves. I also have a little paragraph about how we got started. Enough people have went over that in the last 2 days. I don't need to review that. So one of the arguments that I hear a lot of times from folks who don't understand community is, oh, it's just your marketing. No. Marketing builds the brand. We have a team that builds that brand. I'll support that brand, but what community does and what I do is empower people. I'm here to empower every one of you, wherever you want to get involved and however you want to get involved in this. I need to empower you to help drive innovation, adoption, collaboration, and contributions. So just remember, marketing builds that brand. If you're part of the community, we're going to empower you and you're going to empower someone else. That is the beauty of community, whether it's on the hardware side, software side, or any other community that you're involved in, whether you're your PTA group or your, maybe you go to church, you know, that community, whatever it happens to be, that's a community and you're empowering others. So what you learn today and what you learn in this community, you can go on and share. There's always somebody that's, smarter than you, and there's always somebody, I used to say I'm non-technical. Well, you know what? I'm always going to be technical than someone else, but someone else is going to be always more technical than me. We all have something we need to share. So how do we do that in the community, and how are you successful in our community? We have the 3 C's, or what we call the 3 C's of our community, and that's communication, collaboration, and contribution. But you have to do it in a public way. If you do any 3 of those things privately, no one knows what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. The rest of the community doesn't know what you're doing. So public communication, collaboration, and contribution is the key to successful participation in OCP. And I'm going to go through a little bit about our membership, how we have individual memberships and corporate memberships, and how that plays into your participation. But I also want to stress that we are not a pay-to-play model. I don't think anybody had to pay to be here today. Nobody has to pay to get access to our mailing list. Nobody has to pay to join the conversation. All you have to give is your time. I used to call, when we talk about IP and money and time as contributions, it's kind of what I used to call time, talent, and treasure. You got to give a little bit and put skin in the game. So let's talk a little bit about how to participate, how to do these public things. We have events like this event. So we have our OCP events, we have our summits, we have our workshops, we have our OCP days, we have meetups. So anywhere where you can come together in person and either join myself or folks from the foundation, we want you to be there. We also have our projects. We now have 8 top-level projects. Those projects are certification, data center, hardware management, HPC, networking, open rack, storage, and server. Also, you'll notice today, or these last 2 days, we've had the telco working group. While that's not a top-level project, we are exploring those options. So if that's something that you enjoy, let me know. Send me an email. It's akgraner@opencompute.org or amber@opencompute.org, and tell me you want to be part of something. I'm always available. I tell people across the community that the only time I don't pick up my phone and answer a call from the community is when I'm in another meeting or on another call with some of the community. When Cole said I was passionate about empowering you all, I don't sleep much because I'm empowering people. Because it's important to me. Somebody did that for me. In 2009, I decided that I wanted to get involved in open source. Didn't know anything about it other than I liked Linux. I'm not a developer, though I had one in my house. He said, here's a live CD, here's an old computer. I'm not going to help you. Use the community. And I use the community. And I want my community here, the OCP community, to use me just like I did that Ubuntu community, that Fedora community, and other open source communities. Because they empowered me, and I'm going to empower you. So we want you to join the online meetings. I want you to get involved in the mailing list. I want you to hop on IRC. And I have guides written for those things. If you think, I don't know how to interact on IRC, I don't know protocol for mailing lists, let me know. I'll send you the guide I wrote for other communities. It's super easy to get involved. The other ways are through membership, like I said, tiered membership and individual memberships. We also have, another way for those organizations that want to contribute specs and designs, like Microsoft announced the OCS v2 design and specifications they did. We're just talking about ONI here. Go to oni.opencompute.org if you want to learn more about that. You can go to opencompute.org and click on server, and there's a little box in the top-hand corner that says specs and designs. If you click that box, it'll take you to the new designs that Kshagra was talking about earlier today, or yesterday, and that Sanjeev talked about. So those are some ways that you can participate in our community. So the steps, the membership, we have 4 levels of our corporate contributor, and these slides will have all the links and stuff on there, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this other than community is free, and I'll go into that. Well, just go to the website, click create a profile, and once you create that profile, you're signing the membership agreement, and you're a membership. You're a member, and what you can do, and why that is so important, because whether you're a corporate member or an individual member, you still have to do this if you want to vote in the project lead elections. That's the only requirement that you get to vote in the project lead elections, that you must sign that membership agreement. So our corporate tiered membership, community's free. If your organization wants to be a part of this, you don't have to pay $3 million over 3 years to be part of it. You don't even have to pay, $100,000 or whatever to be part of it. All you have to do is go click on the thing for the membership agreement that's on the website and sign it. I'll send you the community logo. You can put that on your website. You can put that on your printed material, and away you go. That shows people you support this. There's no money that needs to change hands. Now, when you get into the other tiers, silver, gold, and platinum, there is a cost involved. There's cost And there's time and there's talent that's involved. So at silver level, you can pay $60K or you can pay $10K if you're a startup. And let me define startup. Startup is an organization that's under 3 years old and brings in less than $1 million in revenue per year. So that's a $10K cost. And then you can, you get discounts on our summit training. You can vote and run for our governance. So if you want to be part of the governance and you want to run for an IC seat, you got to be silver, gold, or platinum. And you can see as we get higher, there's more things that you need to do to get these trademarks to be able to use the logos on your website. More things that you have to do to get the better trademarks. But you'll notice here that there's 3 ways to get the gold. And gold is kind of, I say it's the most fun to explain, but I mean that kind of sarcastically because there's so many ways and so many combinations that you can do it. It needs a one-on-one conversation to figure out which lane you want to swim in. But basically, you can go 100K and give no time, no IP. Just pay your money and then you can have the benefits. If you want to combine time, talent, and treasure, maybe you've got one specification that your company wants to give. Maybe you want to give, you've got people that want to volunteer and do things. That's 3,120 hours per year, and it sounds like a lot, but I'm going to tell you how we calculate that, and the more skin you put in the game and the more time you spend publicly contributing, the more it adds up. And then you pay just $50K. Or maybe you don't want to give any money, but you got a lot of people that want to work on something and you got 2 specs that you want to contribute, then it's nothing. It's 2,080 hours, 2 contributions, and you don't have to pay anything to get to our gold level. Now, the benefits of gold, other than the discounts and things like that you get, gold and platinum memberships make that organization eligible to become a solution provider if you want. Let me take a look at our platinum membership. Platinum membership is what costs the least, and it's our highest trademark. And the reason that is while we need money to operate the foundation and have events like this and fund our engineering workshops and our foundation staff, it's more important that you build your merit. How many times have you been somewhere and somebody just throws money at something, but they don't have an educated opinion on anything? They just want to be part of it, and they're a disruptive force. I'm not saying that any of our members are that way, but what I want to say is we've all seen it, and we value that skin in the game. We value that time that we want you to put in, and we value those specifications. We want you to innovate. We want you to take what's already there and make it better. Or we want you to build something better that we haven't even thought about. But we just don't want it to be, throwing money at us without helping us innovate. So while money is important, time and IP are also very much important. We want you to build that merit. And if anybody wants to discuss, how to do that, let me know. We'll go through it, and I'll sit down with you as many times and explain it as many different ways as we need to, until you're comfortable at doing that. Because I know getting involved in open source in any way to any organization or individual who hasn't done it before, it's kind of scary sometimes, because here you are, you're putting information on a public mailing list, in a public IRC channel. You're talking in a forum that's being recorded, and it's going to live in perpetuity. That was the hardest thing for me. It wasn't the technology that was difficult. It was understanding that I might misspell a word on an email, or I might get the grammar wrong on something or whatever. That's not what matters. The ability to communicate and get something done is what matters. So if you can switch that little switch off in your brain that kind of tells you it's a scary world out there to be public, and just do it, it's a beautiful place to be. And the things that happen and the energy that comes together and the new innovation that happens because you just turn that switch off is great. We already see it in what's been happening, in open compute since 2011. Look at all the specs that have come down. Look at what was announced here earlier with ONI, with Cumulus Networks and Canonical around ONI and MAS. I mean, that doesn't happen when people are operating in a silo or in a vacuum and not coming together. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one idea planted, and away it goes. And you know what? Everyone sitting in here probably has an idea. Don't be afraid to share that idea. Don't be afraid to get involved. If you can't figure out a way to get involved, or you don't know what project to get involved with, or you don't know where you want to get involved, ask me. We'll pick a lane. I've even have people come up and say, hey, I want to get involved in open source software. How do I do that? So if it's anything along that line, find me, ask me questions. I'll help you out, because somebody helped me out. Now, how do we measure things? That public communication, collaboration, and contribution, it's easy to see contributions. They're listed on the website. Emails, we have our public mailing list. I give you time for every email that you send. I painstakingly calculate that every month. Events, we give you a certain amount of time. We give you 8 hours a day, per person in your organization for our industry events, for our OCP events. Industry events, because we know you're going to represent your company as well as, your interest in OCP. We give you 4 hours for those, 4 hours per day, per person in your organization that goes. There's some rules around that, but, we can discuss that, and I can tell you how you need to report it to me. Leadership hours. Leadership hours, that's where it's important to make sure you're a member, either individual or a corporate member. If you want to be part of the leadership and part of the governance, because, we want to see that changeover. We want to see people coming and going and really driving change and new innovation. Is our board members, our incubation committee, our project leads, and our regional leadership. You saw Jean-Marie that was up here earlier. Jean-Marie is doing a great job in Europe, and we're about ready to roll that charter out and get that started. Now, those charters and those regional leadership and regional communities, it's not a legal entity. It's a way to organize a community, because I can't be on every continent every week, having these conversations and picking a lane or helping guide something. So we need regional leadership. And so the regional leaderships get leadership hours as well for their companies. White papers, documentations, non-spec contributions that enhance the knowledge base of our community. We give you time for that too. Specifications we've already talked about. The other cool thing about our licenses that I wanted to talk about, we have our OCP hardware license. One of them is permissive. Think Apache 2, like throw it over the wall and whatever anybody does with it, you don't care, you've given it. The other one is our OCP HL reciprocal license, which means that if you give a specification and you license it under that reciprocal license, we're going to give you an additional 500 hours towards your membership, because you effectively become the upstream. You want people giving back. So if you license your hardware under that license, and it's one that we at the foundation created, Cole and others had a great deal of time invested in making sure that license was very much in line with the GPL v2 style license. So it means you become the upstream, and you care what people do with your contribution, and you want people to give back. And of course, sponsorships. That's right now the way we publicly track that communication, collaboration, and contribution that will give you credit towards your memberships. Sounds like a lot of information, but it's all in all the links that I'll be sharing later. So here's the team. You already met Cole. I'm the community manager. We have Steve Helvey, who's the VP of Channel Development. He'll help you if you were interested in becoming an SP, a solution provider. He'll help you with that channel. I'll get him the information that he knows, but at some point in time, you'll still have to touch base with me. And Will Map, he handles our strategic alliance partnerships and makes sure that if you already have a growing ecosystem around what you're doing, that we bring it into the foundation and our ecosystem correctly. So he respects those. Now, I have like a minute left here, and the other thing that I want to stress more than anything, and what I want you to understand when you take away and you walk away and you go back to your communities and you're thinking about getting involved. One, I want you to remember that community is all about empowering people. And remember, if you don't think that you have something to empower or contribute, be empowered about or contribute to something or share your information with. Every one of you have a knowledge base, and it might not be about OCP, and it might not be about Linux, or it might not be about something that I'm interested in, but somebody's interested in your story and what you have to share. So make sure you figure out a way to share that and get involved with us, and make sure that you publicly, I can't stress it enough, across any community that you want to be involved in, that you just jump in with both feet, you get involved, and you do that publicly. Empowerment, public empowerment. That's what I want you to really take home with you today, because if you do it in a vacuum and you don't tell anybody what you're doing, nobody knows, and we can't innovate on top of that, and you're not contributing to the conversation and to the innovation. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you the rest of the day.